Before getting into this, I just want to say, this video probably isn't what you think it is. I'm not at all here to hate on Bethesda or to say that Elder Scrolls is better than Fallout or even vice versa, because I love both series equally. Instead, I'm here to ask what I think is a very real and practical question pertaining to the Fallout and Elder Scrolls series. Because in my humble opinion, from a fan point of view, from a game developer point of view, and from a business point of view, I really question whether Bethesda game studios should continue making Fallout games. Bethesda is trying to handle two very large franchises at the same time, which has resulted in incredibly long gaps between games, as well as very small hints that they might be overworking themselves a little. Which to me really doesn't make any sense, given that Obsidian Entertainment has proven themselves to be more than capable of making a great Fallout game, as is evident in New Vegas. And while I realize the solution I'm proposing would probably never ever happen, I still think it's an interesting topic and worth discussing. So without further ado, let's get into this and see if we can answer the all-important question: would it be in everyone's best interest to hand off the Fallout series to another capable developer, ideally Obsidian? That is, should Bethesda stop making Fallout games? To answer this question, first I want to make a couple of distinctions for fans who aren't as familiar with the Fallout franchise. The most important thing to know is that Bethesda Softworks is different from Bethesda Game Studios. Bethesda Softworks is a game publisher, which means they finance and distribute games, while Bethesda Game Studios is an actual game developer. The importance of this distinction is that a game could be developed by a studio other than Bethesda Game Studios, but published by Bethesda Softworks, in which case Bethesda would still make money. Additionally, it is important to realize that Fallout New Vegas was not made by Bethesda Game Studios. Instead, it was developed by Obsidian Entertainment and published by Bethesda Softworks. Long story short, Obsidian is made up of many former employees from the company who made the original Fallout games, and when you combine this with the fact that New Vegas is generally hailed as one of, if not the best Fallout game out there, many fans believe that Obsidian is just as capable, if not more capable, than Bethesda Game Studios when it comes to developing Fallout games. So why, if Obsidian is perfectly capable of handling the Fallout games, is Bethesda Game Studios still making them? Because Bethesda Softworks would still make money if they published Fallout games that were developed by Obsidian, and when you look closely, there are a ton of upsides to having Obsidian make the Fallout games. To name one upside, take a look at the ridiculous breaks in between games in both the Fallout and the Elder Scrolls series. We had a 7-year break between Fallout 3, which was Bethesda's last Fallout, and Fallout 4, which is quite frankly way too much. We're going to have at least a 6-year break between the Elder Scrolls 5 and 6, and even that's being generous. It's more likely to be a 7 to 8 year gap, since a 2018 or 2019 release is more likely. Waits like this between games are honestly just way too long. You cannot make fans wait on the order of 7 years in between installments of a single video game series. Which is exactly why Bethesda Softworks had Obsidian develop Fallout New Vegas before Fallout 4 and commissioned the Elder Scrolls Online before Elder Scrolls 6, to keep fans from getting upset during these long wait periods. But isn't this just overcomplicating things? Why not have Obsidian, who's more than capable of developing Fallout games, focus on Fallout, while Bethesda Game Studios focuses on Elder Scrolls? If Elder Scrolls 6 had come out in 2015 instead of Fallout 4, that would have given us a 4-year wait since Skyrim, and fans would have been more than satisfied with that. And considering that Obsidian was able to develop Fallout New Vegas in just a year, I think it's likely they would have been able to release Fallout 4 by 2014, and potentially even earlier. So from a fan perspective, we would end up getting more Fallout and Elder Scrolls games if Obsidian started specializing in Fallout while Bethesda focused on Elder Scrolls. Furthermore, if each studio specialized in a single series, I would argue that the quality of both series would go up significantly. That is, if Bethesda focused on Elder Scrolls and Obsidian focused on Fallout, we would end up getting better Elder Scrolls and Fallout games. It's been proven in the past that specialization can increase efficiency and quality for any sort of task. Also, this point is certainly up for debate, but my personal opinion is that Obsidian makes slightly better Fallout games and arguably knows the franchise better than Bethesda, so this could also increase the quality of Fallout games. Finally, Fallout and Elder Scrolls games already use the same engine and have somewhat similar inner mechanics, so Obsidian and Bethesda could share some resources which would decrease the amount of work each has to do and make both even more efficient. Thus, if Bethesda Game Studios focused on Elder Scrolls development, while Obsidian focused on Fallout, it could give us more as well as higher quality Elder Scrolls and Fallout games. More than this though, I have a feeling that Bethesda Game Studios might be overworking themselves. Because trying to develop games from two major franchises is incredibly difficult given how small of a company Bethesda Game Studios is with just over 100 employees. Consider the following fact. Skyrim was made by a 100-person development team, whereas Assassin's Creed 4 was made by a 1,000-person team. Which is absolutely ridiculous. Of course Bethesda Game Studios employees are going to be overworked if you're making a game as big as Skyrim with only 100 people while at the same time trying to develop Fallout games. There's a reason why 1,000 people worked on Assassin's Creed 4, and that's because it's hard to develop a game. Now, this isn't me saying that Bethesda should hire more people, but instead what I'm trying to get at is that there's no way such a small company can juggle two massive projects at the same time. Another pretty crazy fact is that all the dungeons in Oblivion were apparently done by a single person. This is also beyond ridiculous, and it makes me think that if Bethesda hadn't been in the process of developing Fallout 3, perhaps they could have devoted more people and resources to the dungeons in Oblivion. If you guys want some more concrete evidence though, consider what Todd Howard said in the following interview last year about Fallout 4 before it came out. Yeah, we're probably doing too much. Laughs. If the game sucks, the answer may have been that we tried too much. Am I the only one who's a bit put off by this statement? It's more like one of those I'm joking but not really joking type of statements where you try to play something off as a joke when it really isn't. A lot of fans thought Fallout 4 fell short of expectations, and what if Todd Howard and the rest of Bethesda were well aware of this and perhaps even agreed before the game even came out? A friend of mine theorized that Bethesda struggled a ton with the settlement building system since the way they tried to go about it was insanely hard, and this is one of the main reasons why Fallout 4 wasn't as good as what we wanted. And I wholeheartedly agree with this theory. I can't pretend to know the inner workings of Todd Howard's mind, but the way he said if the game sucks is because we tried too much makes me think that Bethesda has been taking on a little bit too much of a load. But think about it guys, what if Bethesda stopped making Fallout games and handed off the franchise to someone else? Well, then they wouldn't be overworking themselves any longer. And you wouldn't have a single person doing dungeons for an entire game or anything ridiculous like that. So my claim is that if Bethesda handed off the Fallout franchise to Obsidian, it could be better for the employees at Bethesda to keep them from being overworked. Because game development is already really hard, but what Bethesda is doing just sounds straight hellish at times. Finally, before ending things off, I want to look at the entire issue from a business perspective. A quick disclaimer though, I'm really not all that familiar with the business side of publishing games, so what I say might be a bit inaccurate, and if so, feel free to correct me in the comments. I've already stated that if Obsidian were to develop a Fallout game that was then published by Bethesda Softworks, they would make money from it. Also, I already discussed how if Obsidian were to take over the Fallout franchise, we would get more Elder Scrolls and Fallout games. Putting aside the subtleties, doesn't more Fallout and Elder Scrolls games mean more for Bethesda Softworks to publish, and thus more money? So, if Obsidian were to take over the Fallout franchise, wouldn't it result in more money for Bethesda Softworks in the long run? Like I said, I'm absolutely no expert, but from a business point of view, it sounds like a pretty good deal to me. Which means that from a fan, developer, and financial point of view, letting Obsidian take over the Fallout franchise and having Bethesda Game Studios focus solely on Elder Scrolls games is a good idea. Which begs the question, why hasn't Bethesda done this yet? Well, as much as I wish I could give an answer to this question, the honest truth is that I have no clue what's stopping them. I'm sure there are some unseen barriers to this, or perhaps I'm misinterpreting some of the facts, but what I do know is that there's a decent amount of upside to giving the Fallout franchise over to Obsidian so that Bethesda Game Studios can focus on Elder Scrolls. So I'm just gonna go ahead and leave it at that. Well, alright folks, that is pretty much gonna do it for this video. As always, if you enjoyed, be sure to drop a like down below and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already for more Fallout and Elder Scrolls content in the future. Also, before you go, be sure to let me know your thoughts on this entire situation down below. Do you think Bethesda should keep making Fallout games, or do you think it's a better idea for them to give it to Obsidian, or perhaps some other capable developer? Otherwise, I hope you all have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video.